For the Love of HR. Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to For the Love of HR. I'm Richard. I hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining me for this episode, which is focused on organizational performance management. It would really help the channel if you could watch until the end, subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. Thank you. In episode 1, we introduced the HR Accountability Framework with its 26 accountabilities across 4 big domains: HR Business Partner, HR Functional Partner, HR Governance and Performance Excellence, and HR Innovation and Development. Over this series, we're diving into each one, and later I'll share some practical models, tools, and templates you can use to become a stronger people practitioner. We're still working through the HR Business Partner sub-accountabilities, and today we will turn to one of the most critical and often one of the most misunderstood: organizational performance management. Because while many see it as a reporting or HR process, in truth, it's one of the most powerful enablers of business success. The mechanism that connects strategy, people, and performance into one flowing system. Here's how I define it. Partner with leadership to define and implement integrated frameworks that link people, strategy, and performance outcomes across all levels. It's about how ambition becomes measurable achievement, how strategy becomes action, and how people and systems align to deliver real results. When done well, organizational performance management creates flow, a natural rhythm that connects clarity, capability, and accountability. Most organizations don't fail because of poor strategy. They fail because they can't connect their strategy to daily performance. Leaders set goals that don't cascade. Teams pull in different directions. Measures don't connect to outcomes. And individuals lose sight of how their work makes an impact. That's why this accountability matters so much, because without a system that links ambition to action, performance stagnates. Let me show you how I like to visualize organizational performance. Think of your organization as a river system. At level 1, the stream bed is dry. There's effort, but no flow. Everyone's working hard, but direction is scattered. At level 3, the water begins to move. Alignment is forming, but barriers and bottlenecks slow progress. Teams are busy, but the current is broken. At level 5, the river becomes a cascading waterfall, strong, smooth, and connected. Strategy flows naturally down through departments, teams, and individuals. Every level draws energy from the one above, creating continuous alignment, clarity, and motion. That's performance flow, where clarity at the top fuels energy at every level, and everyone moves together in one powerful direction. The starting point is always clarity of ambition. HR and leadership must share a deep understanding of what the business is truly trying to achieve, and I mean deep. Not just in financial targets, but in direction. This is often represented by a business plan, and believe it or not, many organizations don't have a written business plan. Even when they do, it's often full of board statements rather than specific, measurable intent. So before any flow can happen, the source of the river, the ambition, must be crystal clear. Now, there are many frameworks for starting your performance process. The best framework for me that I use for creating alignment is OGSM: Objectives, Goals, Strategies, and Measures. It starts with the objective, the vision or destination. Then comes the goal, the measurable target. Next, the strategies, the actions and choices that will get you there. And finally, the measures, the metrics that show whether progress is real in terms of the strategies. OGSM helps you cascade clarity from the boardroom to departments to teams to individuals. That's how you build performance flow, where everyone can see how their work connects to the big picture and the current carries meaning, not confusion. So let's look at some of the consequences and the impact on the organization when organizational performance management is weak. And you know the business will feel it immediately. Not because people aren't working hard, but because they're not working on the right things. Strategic ambiguity. The top team hasn't clearly defined success, so every department interprets it differently. Misaligned effort. Teams chase local wins that don't contribute to the bigger picture. Slowed execution. Projects stall because no one's sure what done really means. Wasted energy. People spend more time explaining and reporting than delivering. Decision paralysis. Without shared definitions of progress, leaders hesitate. Resource misallocation. Effort spreads thin across too many competing priorities. Cultural friction. Constant change without clarity erodes trust and focus. Lost customer focus. Without alignment, customer experience becomes inconsistent. Board frustration. When metrics don't connect to strategy, confidence fades. Competitive drift. Competitors with tighter flow start pulling ahead. Do any of these sound familiar? Drop a comment and tell me what you've seen. Inside HR, the effects show up differently and sometimes more painfully. Performance lags. When reviews happen once a year, feedback comes too late. The water's already downstream. HR loses credibility. When systems don't drive results, HR looks administrative, not strategic. Disconnected systems, KPIs, OKRs, and appraisals all exist, but none of them talk to each other. Training misses the mark. Learning and development programs build skills, just not the ones the business actually needs. Managers don't manage. Without clarity or tools, feedback becomes awkward or avoided. Employees become disconnected. People stop seeing how their goals matter. Motivation dries up. And you've all seen them, the tick box reviews. Ratings feel rushed, feedback feels hollow, and meaning is lost. So there's plenty of data, but little insight. Dashboards show numbers, but not understanding. HR becomes reactive. Instead of shaping flow, HR ends up plugging leaks. Cultural inconsistency. Every team defines good performance differently, and fairness becomes subjective. Weak performance flow doesn't just slow the business, it floods HR with noise, confusion, and firefighting. These are the real world consequences of poor performance flow. But the good news, every one of them can be fixed. Because when frameworks are well designed, they don't just measure performance, they create it. So tell us a little bit in the comments about what you've seen. It'd be so helpful. Thank you. So let's look at some of the most common misconceptions I hear from leadership teams and I've seen myself. We've already set the business direction. HR doesn't need to be involved. Well, of course, the reality is HR can be a critical thought partner, helping leaders articulate ambition clearly, translate it across the business and keep it human. Leaders are responsible for setting direction. They don't need help. Well, sadly, most leadership teams benefit from facilitation. Clarity emerges through structured discussion, not assumption. HR already understands our business plan. Well, again, sorry to disappoint you, but many HR teams are handed broad ambitions with no specifics. HR cannot align performance to a plan it hasn't co-created. We have a business plan. Everyone knows the direction. Well, most plans describe outcomes, not pathways. Flow requires clarity on how success will be achieved and measured. Performance starts with KPIs. Well, it's a good start. However, it starts with clarity of the ambition. Without that, you're measuring splashes, not current. We align once a year. Well, flow requires constant redirection. Priorities shift and performance must move with them. Performance systems slow agility. Well, when designed well, they enable agility by giving structure and focus to fast decisions. Short-term results can mask long-term misalignment. Well, as you know, heroics aren't strategy. Everyone understands the strategy. Well, again, a bit of a reality. Most people can't explain it because it hasn't been translated into their context or language. I love this one. I've heard it many times. We don't need to explain everything. Well, silence creates eddies, confusion, misdirection, and friction. Now let's turn the mirror on ourselves, HR. HR leaders are fully equipped to facilitate business direction discussions. Sadly, many aren't, and that's okay. This is a capability to be built. We must learn to guide business clarity, not just capture it. And I know it's scary. I've been there myself, but we must learn how to lead these discussions. Equally important, HR leaders are confident injecting their thinking into business direction. Too often, many of us aren't. HR waits for permission. If we're to be a strategic partner, it means we need to contribute our perspectives, not just record the outcomes of meetings. HR already understands the business direction. Well, many of us believe we do, but we only have a general sense. And it's without this deep commercial clarity, alignment efforts will be disconnected. It's not HR's role to ensure performance cascades through the organization. It absolutely is, my dear colleagues. HR must own the design and flow of performance management system, ensuring strategy turns into measurable actions. If leadership hasn't defined the plan, we can't act. Well, we absolutely can act, and indeed we must. We must help facilitate clarity. We need to be assertive and when talking to the leaders. Helping leaders articulate that ambition is one of our most strategic contributions. Goal setting is a manager's skill, not ours. HR, like many things, we need to model and coach it, translating business direction into meaningful human goals. Templates or technology will fix performance. That sounds good, particularly in these days of AI. Well, tools actually visualize alignment, but people actually create it and sustain it. Once goals are set, alignment is done. Sounds easy. Well, as we all know, flow requires motion. Alignment is a continuous conversation. It's not just an annual event. It's not a yearly cascade. Performance equals ratings. Yep, that is the outcome. Performance equals contribution to the business, to the purpose. Ratings only record the moment, not the movement. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this one. Our job starts once the plan is written. Yes, many people believe that sending out the appraisal forms is actually performance management, but it starts much before that, probably in the October, November before when they were doing the business plan. Shaping the plan is our role with the leadership team, not just implementing it. So let's step back for a second, because organizational performance management doesn't start with forms or KPIs. It starts with clarity of ambition. And here's something I've seen time and time again. Even the CEO and senior leadership team often struggle to articulate what success truly means. They'll talk about growth or transformation, but rarely define how it will happen. Is it new markets, new products, new partnerships? That's where HR business partners add strategic value by helping leadership name the flow, clarify the direction, and cascade it consistently. Our role is to translate big ambition into clear, connected movement. The organization's strategy becomes the departmental's plan, the department's plan becomes the team's goals, and the team's goals become the individual priorities. That's the cascade, from the source to the stream to the waterfall. And once that flow is in place, HR ensures every system, goal setting, reviews, recognition, and rewards reinforces it. Because performance flow is not a one-time surge. It's a constant current that carries strategy forward every day. So what can we do differently? What will work instead? Number one, make sure you clarify the ambition. Partner with leadership to define what success truly means. the specific growth drivers, priorities, and measures that matter. Make sure you cascade across and down. Translate that ambition across functions and departments first, then down through teams and individuals, so everyone's work connects to the whole. Design the performance management process. Build it a process that fits your organization's reality, linking the strategy, the goals, reviews, and feedback into one coherent system. Context matters. Please don't just copy paste from the year before. Monitor in real time. Shift from lagging annual reviews to real-time leading indicators that keep the organization agile and current. And finally, sustain the flow. Keep calibrating. Performance alignment is a living process that evolves as the business does. Okay, lovely people, here's my challenge to you for this week. Pick one of these questions and answer it honestly for your organization. How clearly is your strategy connected to individual goals? Do your reviews drive insight or just compliance? When leaders talk results, do they link them to capability and behavior? If your performance system disappeared tomorrow, would performance actually change? Thank you for joining me on For the Love of HR. Remember, performance management isn't about control, it's about clarity and flow. It's not about paperwork, it's about purpose and connection. When you get it right, it becomes one of the most powerful tools to deliver your organization's ambition. If this helped, give the video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss episode 6. Until then, take care and keep doing what matters most, building alignment that turns strategy into success.